Your RPG superstar returns to the podium to speak from afar to all the legions of RPG plebeians now out there in that universal role-playing game land. Your main man comes to speak excellent words of wisdom to rectify your dome piece. Speaking of dome pieces, Dome Assad just recently returned here from session number 3 of the local Within the Ring of Fire saga that your main man has been running. My man Frank, you know he's going to be in that game. Was in that game. Excellent job. A lot of great role playing went on tonight, and I'm enthused, energized, and fantastically eager to bring these RPG tidings unto your nugget piece. At least I know it's been a while since I've done an RPG video. Just an enormous amounts of time restraints from so many different things going on in their life. But we're still working to get the next 2 books for Within the Ring of Fire, greatest role-playing game ever played. Haven't played it? Go drive to RPG. Get your copies now or hit your main man up on Facebook. The link's right in my channel. $75 gets you the RPG super bundle of a lifetime. Within the Ring of Fire gives you every PDF ever to come out for the sensational smash hit RPG game. Now, I want to talk about a real schism. There are a lot of times people will have great difficulties combining certain aspects, certain types of role players into their games. The largest schism divide are between, in a role-playing game, a lot of people show up to role play, and then you have another group that shows up to gameplay. A role player, like myself, I am very firmly hard entrenched in a group of role playing. As I am the god of role playing, it would seem quite odd I was in another dimension with different expectations than ever before. So I am heavily, I'm talking about cement heavy, in favor of one group, tremendously biased. So keep that in mind at all times. And now I understand different people want to get different things out of a role playing game experience, and that's all fine. But when you merge these 2 types, and there's many different subtypes within these 2 types, but this is a pretty easy way to explain these different types of people. I'm sorry, it looks like I got a shadow over my face from the hat, but fuck that. You have your role players and your game players. Now, Dungeons & Dragons has really kind of always been a game player's game. It puts things into a well, let's kind of talk about some of the things that, a game playing game. Not that you can't role play. You can fucking play Monopoly and role play. I'll play role play the fuck out of that racing car. But in the game playing, it doesn't really have any rules that support role playing and vast numbers that detract from role playing. What detracts from role playing? Well, anytime you need to reference rules, you need to look rules up, you need to have all kinds of special dice and XYZ that are going to slow it down. When it doesn't have to. But when it does, it does. If everyone's sitting around there bored as hell, and I've seen that so many times throughout different games, throughout decades now, in this great thing called RPG. It is certainly something that can cause a problem. And a lot of what I would look at as problem players, I don't know, maybe you like to play with rules lawyers and such, definitely fall into the game player type. The role player doesn't want any of that. The role player wants to role play. That's what the role player wants. And I've seen game players get upset when they have role players because role players waste time. They doing things like describing the character, describing what the character's doing, engaging the scene, engaging in role playing. And a game player might not like that. Game players tend to, if you sort of want to look at what you have there, a game player tends to look at the situation in terms of a 5-foot hex or grid space or whatever. And I've ranted and raved about how much I hate stuff like that to a tremendous degree because it disengages from the role play aspect. When a game player is going to do some of the following things. They're going to talk to other characters inside a scene out of character. Hey, I need you to come over here. Hey, I'm down this many hit points. Hey, I'm down this many wound levels. Hey, I'm down this much of health gauge. And I need you to heal me. They're going to devise standard door opening procedures, even abbreviating such things. They're going to make sure they have all the roles covered, if at all possible. due to the number of players in the game. They're going to come out of character, discuss enormous amounts of things, treasure division, riddles, traps, these sort of things. Game players often like traps, even in these old Gygaxian modules where they make no fucking sense at all. They're just none. Where you can't logically deduce that that place would have been built, or that these things would be there or still be there. It just defies any kind of common sense. But they like that sort of thing. They like the riddles. They like the playing. They like to say, okay, my character is going to go do these things. And it's fine. You might sometimes need it, even as a role player. You might need to announce, okay, my character's going to do these things, explain to Game Master. But that's pretty much it. That's the connection that they have to the game, to the level. It's not boom, boom, boom in character. We're going to discuss this playing in character. We're going to do this in character. We're engaging that scene from a role-playing perspective. They want to engage the scene from almost like a miniatures game kind of perspective. When they're still in a role-playing game, there are, I think 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Would have heard one of the Warhammer games is like this, but I haven't played it, so I can't really comment. But 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons is a great example of a game player's game. It virtually does nothing to stimulate or propel or aid in role-playing or to encourage role-playing. And it has a pitifully small amount of explanation for role-playing there in the book. That enraged a lot of people because it was a role-playing game neutered in a lot of people's estimation, or a light war game or what have you. But the game players may enjoy something like that. I'm sure some didn't. There's a radical change from the Dungeons and Dragons formula. It's a very different formula in that game. So I can understand how those sorts of players might not like it for that reason. Not to say all game players liked 4th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Just to say, use it as an illustration, an example of what we're talking about here. The game player may have been playing for 40 years and never really role played. When you bring 2 or 3 of those people into a game with people who are lavish role players, who are heavy on the narrative, who are heavy on the collaborative descriptions, who are heavy on the back and forth of change, people like myself, or Dirt to the Dirty Maximus, my man, the oniony one, my girl Mia, my man, Lou, or what about Matt Pritchard? These sort of people aren't going to jive very well with people who basically refuse to role play in the sense that I'm talking about. That's essentially engage the character. You play the character here, not here, not here, not here, and not way out here. You play the character here. You're thinking in character. You're definitely experiencing the character psychologically and enjoying the emotional state, the responses, all those different aspects of the character, as opposed to, I want to kill that dragon to get gold. You want to experience the tapestry of the role playing game. You want to be immersed. You want to be very much in the character. And that's probably a really great way to explain being immersed, as in being the character, as in experiencing the character, as in experiencing the world, as in thinking about it, seeing it there, like a television show or movie, versus the experience of simply playing it out here, seeing the miniature, seeing those sorts of things, and not engaging. Where you're looking at it, you're mapping out your fireballs. Okay, well, my fireball could technically hit him way out here, even though it's only 10 feet left. You're not thinking about the fact that you couldn't possibly, with any certainty, calculate out a 400-foot fireball where you're missing your own party by like 5 or 10 feet, and then you're hitting this. You wouldn't be able to possibly do that. And other enormous amounts of other examples of that. I think spells are a great illustration, particularly when you're on that exacting of a scale, which, all right, that's fair enough for the game's sake, but at the same time, it can certainly be very detracting. And when you have these sort of players together, typically the role player's response is, God, this guy fucking sucks. Why do I have to play with him? This is terrible. And trust me, I've literally received several thousand messages since the time I started this channel on relating all sorts of horror stories. There's always mixes and overlaps, but the game player is definitely very likely to be the min-max or the power gamer. A role player certainly can be this. You can be a fantastic role player and do these things. But for a game player, there's no level of sin to it. There's no reason not to. You're just statting out your character to have the best advantage tactically. You're engaging the property of the game completely different, and it seems that these two groups will engage the game in ways that will makes them both likely irritated. I find the role player likely to be vastly more irritated with a game player than the game player with a role player. However, the game player can look at the role player as wasting time, that they can do things. The nonsense of forcing them to play in character and so forth. That's just not going to fly for them. And if they have a very strong personality or other attributes, that's going to push the game strongly in an anti role playing fashion. And you can certainly use the word role playing to establish, that immersive aspect, talking characters, so forth. You can also use it to just say, well, we have the roles of these characters that we're playing, kind of like a video game does, which is never the way, well, which is very rarely, unless stipulated, the way I use the word or the term role playing on this channel to make sure we have clarity of terms. I love clarity of communication. I think that's very important. Now, I take a solid pass on game players. I have no interest in ever game role playing with anyone that's a game player ever. I never want to role play with one. Again, you need to be able to see it, feel it, breathe it, be there at least for a second, at least chasing it, at least trying to hit that magic dragon. When it's a situation where, and it's kind of hard for me because I'm so far psychologically from being a game player that I think part of how and what they derive their entertainment from is lost on me. Often I question why they keep at it. It's often to me, are they so bored that they're just whatever, they're going to do this, or do they not have friends, and they have to come up there to have some kind of human connection? I don't know. I often see those people very disengaged, very uninterested, very unhappy in the games they're in, but they seem to keep going back and back and back, and it might be just simply the fact that they can't find another expression for that. And I definitely like to hear all of you guys' comments in the box below in terms of, have you dealt with these players? Are you a game player and you fucking hate role players? Or are you a game player and you love watching someone role play the intricacy of it? I've seen game players, when I've shown up, they've never seen a real role player before, let alone the god of RPG, and they'll sit there and wide-eyed, slack-jawed in amazement, just talking, wow, yeah, that guy's our role player, that guy's our role player. Well, yeah, but aren't we all supposed to do role playing? And to me, it seems like you're missing the cardinal point of playing a role playing game if you're doing that. So it's a bit odd to me, and I don't want to seem like my point here is to be down or to push someone downtrodden or even to crack wise on them. But if you are a game player and for some reason you're watching my channel, I don't know, maybe you think my videos are funny. I would like to know what really brings you to the table, what propels you, and those are very serious questions. I would definitely like to read responses from that and the different experiences and views that game players have for role players and that role players have for game players. And remember, I'm using the word and term role playing specifically, not generically, not to encompass, but to show a difference in what people show up to the table for and what sort of play they want and they enjoy. We have I was talking with my man Frank the other day about this, and he was bringing up a time where a whole bunch of us stumbled into a game that had already been established that had two players that were strong game players, and one of them got like lividly mad at us for taking time to describe our characters. This man, it did not. He was a dwarf, 2-axis chainmail, and he didn't give a fuck what we were playing. He didn't want to have any kind of mental image to that. He didn't want to have any engagement to that. I don't understand that. I don't know. To me, I can't. It's just like, what does he just imagine us in our t-shirts with maybe some hats some of us had, and it was just imagining us with some weapons that he didn't care to even imagine, just racing into wherever with him. That's very odd to me. I don't see what the point of playing a role-playing game is if you can't imagine it, because that's the core component of why I play role-playing games for the that image, that wonderful escape from reality, that acting opportunity, that being in this strange, bizarre, beautiful place that populated my mind. The same reason I watch a television show. It would be to me, it's like watching, instead of watching the television show, like maybe like just getting some periodic subtext, but like not all of it, just a word here and then a word there, and how you make much sense of that, I don't know, or process at the best, because I'm sure it levels. There's the far end of what I would consider a game player that's closest, and then the other far end that's so far away. I don't see what brings them to the table. Why aren't they playing checkers or tiddlywinks or something? That it's always something that's quite vexed to me. So hopefully it doesn't come off too negative here. But my interest is to sort of hear your stories, your thoughts, why these people enjoy the hobby when they're not role playing, when they're not involved or interested in that. As I know there's a huge amount of them out there, and gosh, I would think one of you would. So before you just simply thumbs down the video, let me know, or do both. It's straight. I don't know what the fuck. I would be interested to see what the mentality, what's the psychology behind that expression, and is it often perhaps just laziness, or is it a fear of putting yourself out there, of doing some weird dorky voice and describing how you drive the pick deep into the skull, deep into the good meat, and let that brain matter just leak out of the skull, right down the face, right into the eyes to sting it with the salty brininess of that brain pan, and then how it tastes going into the mouth in the last seconds of your foe's demise as he stumbles around, brain leaking out of a hole in his head that you've air conditioned for his pleasure in these hot summer times soon to come. Is it that? Or is it that, writing down a list of, I don't know, new magic arrows from the dragon's hoard, or stacks of coins, or killing 1,000 orcs in, 18 hours of play? What about that is really attracting when they're, just swing, roll, repeat without any life or flavor to it? I don't see how it's fun, but I'd be interested to hear from you guys. So let me know what you think in the box below. Get your Within the Ring of Fire gear. Say no to the steak bootiness. This is a game for role players. You want to get a fantasy game that talks about all the RPG excitement, all the role-playing possibility and potential? Bunk them other games Within the Ring of Fire. It's your main man up. Get a $75 PDF deal. Or go drive through RPG. Get your hardback and softback books, or even your buy books. They have those too. I don't give a damn. Woo! My God. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Barbarian Horde for life.